a fair hazard in itself. Riders have been going now, it's like 20 past 11. We've already had about 6-7 riders go through by the time we got here. Numbers are getting all mixed up now. As you can see, 28's come in. We've just already had 66 go through. Actions coming through, and what's this one? I can see is this a number 87. So, you know, things are starting to move quite rapidly. And where we're filming, I mean, it's a section just to get to the section. People are thinking, you know, it's time, it's fifth gear across the moors. It's not. There's a lot of slow donkey work to make your way up. A lot of tired bodies looking already. Considering it's so dry, you know, bikes and the back of the riding pants of riders look pretty messed up. So there must be some wet patches out there. At the beginning of the section, you can see they've all got their little helpers trying to point roughly which way the line is or which way you're going to go, because, you know, it's a blind corner 2/3 of the way up the section. So you have no idea really where you're going unless you come and walked it throughout the week. Great ride there so far. And I think with this section, with no water running down, it might actually get slippier. As you know, like anything, with water coming down, you know, it washes the mud off the rocks. But the corner looks very, very tricky. This is actually number 22 on the section, so still a long way, not even 1/3 of the way through on the section front, and as I say, been going over 2 hours. This is Surrender section 2. There's one just down the valley, just round the corner. Yeah, bit of very, very tired bodies already. A lot of back pain, as you can see. People are like stretching out. This seems to be a fair bit harder than previous years, especially the start. I don't know, it was 2, 3, 4 years ago, they had a massive flood in this area. A lot of sports events got cancelled, and it basically just picked up every rock and turned it upside down, made the streams wider than they were. So, you know, definitely different terrain what they're used to. Again, lovely line there, bit of a ricochet, I think, but quite steep as well, the section. It's one of those, if you know, start with a prod, very, very hard to get back on the pegs. So you've almost got to go with the flow. Bit of downtime now. A few more riders coming back down from the previous section.
Which is the hardest section of the Scott, in your opinion?
Well, they're all hard, Sam. They really are. Some of the sections in the middle of nowhere are the tough ones. You know, these are just iconic sections where the spectators can get to. You know, and as the day goes on, there is some proper hard sections, and you know, you have to be a really good level of, you know, standard of rider to even attempt them. But, you know, I say there's only one route. There's no clubman route. There's no beginner's route. You've got, you know, the lesser lads riding the same sections as, you know, previous world champions. Ben Dagnicourt, yes, he's going well, 101, so he's going really well. He's made some time up. You remember we see him through Orgate, almost riding in number order, but like Benoit now has made his way through to like 20th man on the road, which is great for a first timer. Dan Hemingway there, just giving him a little bit of drink. Obviously Dan's lads are a bit too young to be riding this event, Harry and George, but I have heard they're riding the back markers. That just shows you how difficult the section is, because Benoit is a top level rider. You know, competed in World Championship, one stupid little spin up, and that was an iffy 1 or a 5. So hard on the corner there.
Has a foreigner ever won the Scott?
Good question, Sam, that. No, as far as I'm aware of, no. I say, like previous section, we've had Amos Bilbao. Doug tempted him over to ride. He rode a couple of years, loved the event. And there was always a crazy man in between. He never won the event. Yeah, he might have had a top 3. Then a fair few years back, Fuji came over and had a ride, and everybody thinks Fuji, with his style and the speed that he attacks everything at, but again, it was such an eye-opener, and I can't remember his result, but he was nowhere near winning the event. There's a lot of, you've got your favourites for the trial today, but again, it's a unique trial. You'd put Dougie Lampkin, Jack Price, James Dabill down on paper, but then you've got your really good national runners like Richard Sadler, Ian Austin-Mule, a few local lads, Jono Richardson, who know this ground like the back end. They all get thrown into the equation, and before you know, you've got 10 riders on the day who could, if not win, be in the top 3. So it's a great event. It really is a leveller for the top lads and that next tier to ride so close to them. So it's brilliant.
And how important do you think local knowledge is, or is that?
Local knowledge is key. My first years of riding, I remember coming up, I was, I live up north now, not far from here, but I was a southerner and I came out, it was quite daunting. And I was like 17-year-old, so you can imagine it was a few years ago. And I remember back in the day, there was Gerald Richardson, Philip Alderson. They were the guys to beat around here. And I remember setting off out the start field, those lads came overtaking me, and I thought, I'll just tag onto the back of them. Next thing, I'm like following the markers, and I'm like, well, they're just veering 50 foot off from them, and they knew the terrain, even like every bit of moorland, they knew where they were going. And I thought, I'm not gonna live with them, but they know every beck, every rock. It's what they live for. And I say there is some of their, like Gerald, won the trial many years back in the day. His son John O'Neill, he's given up trials again. Another one of the extreme enduro world stars. He rides for the Graham Jarvis team actually, who's, I think Graham still holds the most amount of wins around here with 9 wins. So yeah, if he takes any advice off Graham, he knows what he's got to do. A few more making the way up. I don't think it'll be long before we start to see, if we've had Benoit come through on number 101, it'll only be another 10 minutes, I'd say, before we start getting some of the big hitters back in like the 150 mark. So, and you'll see the speed that they'll travel up this gully in between the sections. There is a difference. Few more folk now gathering at the section, because obviously they've been to some earlier groups. It won't be long before this is actually 10 deep with spectators, which is such a great sight. Will Westgarth, say the local man. Bit of a spanning going down at the beginning of the section, tightening up the chain. So hard on bikes around here. The modern bike is almost not designed for this. Nice ride so far, Will standing on it. Again, like I said earlier, if you can keep the feet on the pegs and just go with the flow, more chance. If you start dabbling like a centipede as you go in the section, very hard to recover. Another one making his way up the gully towards the section, number 40. I can see a few more coming around the corner. It'd be really interesting for you folks to see the the top guys and how they compose themselves at the beginning of the section, how they've got a few helpers just guiding them left or right, right up the middle. Haven't seen my son number 35 just yet, so he must be struggling somewhere with all the others. Going to get to a point, you know, we've got another 2, 4, 6, 8 riders coming up. Almost going to get to a bit of the bottleneck at the beginning of the section soon. I can see someone coming up in the distance who's looking very, very handy on the in-between. Can't quite see with my eyesight. It's definitely a high number. Wow, he must be travelling. Is that 150, 158 I can see? Ben, that's Ben Hemo. Yeah, so at the beginning of the section, Ben's brother Dan is already there. Ben is absolutely trampy. You can see the way he's pushing through those markers. Try and get to the front. He's already over just taken 6 riders. So Dan is at the front. Probably going to give him a drink. Point the line out. You can see a gel going in. There is a slight amount of outside assistance allowed in refreshments. See Dan there just pointing the line out to him. Another rider, 157, coming up, Billy Green, Trial GP, it's not Trial, yeah, Trial GP 2 runner. Again, straight to the front, not going to waste any time. This is where it gets interesting. Nice clean ride there, big round of applause from Ben. Against the next rider to go in is 157, Billy Green. Seen him on his social media this week. He's been practicing really hard, been practicing with bum bags on, just to get used to that extra weight. Here we go. So far, so good. Fighting it all the way. Still fighting it, recovering. Struggling to see round there with the spectators. But a round of applause, that must have been a clean. See Greg Callahan coming back in the distance, he's still going, the mountain biker. Like we said in the start field, starting his off-season with the most grueling event he's probably done all year. A lot of riders now. This is where you can soon waste 5 minutes. And at the end of the day, when these guys are travelling so fast, then 5 minutes make all the difference whether you're going to stay in or get disqualified. Be interesting to see which of the big players turns up next. I can see James Fry coming down in the distance, 166. Again, he will be moving his way to the front. What was your viewpoint down there, Sam? Good? Yeah, so you can see now at the beginning of the section, it is just elbows out, let's get to the front, but then they start moving closer and closer to the begins markers. Front wheel is almost on the line before they sit off, so it's so hard to get the balance and get momentum to get going. That's James Fry going up, that's Emma Bristow's boyfriend, obviously great rider. Greg Callahan also in the section. Yeah, I say there'll be a period where they'll have an hour of pretty diabolical traffic really, then all of a sudden they'll get to the front and they'll be riding on their own. You know, but like we said earlier, you know, you've got number 32 and number, you know, and the 160s have already gone through. Again, it's just getting wider and wider to get in the section. Obviously those last few riders away with Dabill, Lampkin, Jack Peace, it'll be interesting to see if they all come together, or I'd say in that here is Jack Price here, 176. Looks like he's been filled in, but look at the level of riding just to get to the front. Been retired from trials all year, took up the old enduro lark like a lot of them do, but again it's another event that they just don't want to miss. And to be fair, they can ride a bike so well, a few months off it won't make no difference. They're, you know, still capable of the win. So basically, from them late numbers, he's one of the early riders fighting. It's what I was saying, so hard to set off when you're starting at the beginners cards.
Who's that on 76?
Numbers all over the show. Let's see. Might have missed him, but I haven't seen in the early days on that second section there was Ben Dignam, but he might have been and gone. I can't remember. It's such a jumble of riders now. Number 153 just coming up, Dan Thorpe, wily old character. Been out of the trial for 6 months or so with quite a bad back injury. Been riding again for a few weeks, but not the best of events to come back when you've had a back injury. As you can see, helpers shouting, it's carnage. This is what the Scott is all about. Now, how many have we got in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders in the section at any one time. Some sacrifice the marks because they just want to get through and fed up with sitting in the queue. But that's what it's all about. And here we've got Dougie, 180, just coming over the other side, having a different approach to the beginning. Now everyone behind, it's like sheep, they're all following him. Again, Dan Hemingway just pointing out where he wants to be. And also on Dougie's tail, Emma Bristow, I can just see coming on 170. Emma's one of them ladies who's going to put a lot of men to shame today, I'm sure. Here's Doug going anyway, 180. Looking as precise as ever so far. So strong on the bike. Even a bit of trick riding for Doug, which is unusual. Obviously he made sure that was a lovely clean, and he made sure that section was empty before he went in. He didn't want anyone round that blind corner stuck on the rock and then to take a 5. Obviously, is Emma going to go in next, I think? 170, Emma Bristow. Unfortunately, just lost the Ladies World Championship, but it was so close with her and Lawyer. But look at that for us, still clean, still clean, still clean. Oh, just a bit hung up at the end. But again, such an amazing rider. Still got Dabill, or James Dabill, or should I say, to turn up yet. He was obviously last man away, being the winner last year. Just calming down a bit, a few less riders come in. There's only about half a dozen at begins cards. Again, no, one sets off, another one follows in. You just don't see this on a normal day at a trial. sure a lot of you agree, it makes trials very, very exciting. Traditional, no stop. Great becks, well, we call them becks in Yorkshire, but great streams, you know, there's no need for hopping and bopping and tight turns. Throw the markers in, sections there already. Another familiar face at the begins cards, pointing away in the orange jacket, James Lampkin. Doug's cousin, normally riding. Nice ride so far. Just on that corner where it all comes a little bit unstuck, that's Jack Shepherd, I didn't recognise. Obviously again, former World Championship runner. Dusted off the bike to ride this event. Still no sign of dibs yet, 184. Richard Sadler, well, that's one of the local favourite rides for Doug. He'll be going in next after this guy. You can see they're obviously already lining him up, telling where he needs to be. He's almost took over the Dan Thorpe of the local national, you know, very, very man hard to beat in any local national round in the UK. So here we go, 184, Richard Sadler. So precise so far. He'll definitely been in Walker's section. But again, there's riders just timed that right because there was a rider right on the ends markers. No round of applause. I don't know. I couldn't see at the top whether he was out for a clean or not. I think we best we'll try and wait for James Dabill to turn up. And again, we need to then move on to get to the next group, so we can catch these front runners as when they get into the front, they soon start tramping, and it's very hard for even spectators to keep up. Don't even want to get in there. Makes me a little bit scared. You can just see the rustle and bustle when you're down here. How are we going, Dan? No swearing, because you're on camera. I see you're pointing them all out and trying your best. Your Ben looked like he had a good ride.
I think Ben was quite early on the race.
Yeah, no, he was. Yeah, no, he was good. He missed all this.
And he looks quite nice.
No, he looked great. He looked good. He was, yeah, he's travelling really quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to get to the front of this and the Reel's Head.
The top riders have like a half an hour to an hour of like traffic, don't they? And then.
To get out of here, to be fair, once you get up to Cross Moor, it's got to ease up a little.
Yeah, for sure. It's just getting through this patch, isn't it? You know.
The Reel's Head in here are always.
Yeah, always the ones. Yeah. And have you seen anything else prior here?
We went from at the bottom of the Reel's Head, then really slippery ones in that wood.
Yes, yeah.
We went to there on the e-bikes.
Right. Yeah.
And then we just come straight here.
Yeah, cool.
Just waiting for Dabill.
Yeah, I know, we were just saying, I don't know, we're going to try and hover here, Dan, until we get to see dibs, and then we need to move on. So I see Ben.
Not the usual Scott Day though, is it?
No, you
great.
can see the section. Yeah, I see Ben Dignam now has turned up.
Battery's right, warm. Chili's there as well.
Yeah. Couple more.
Hey, Chili!
Andy Chilton there on the Scorper. Another great centre runner. You know, if he put in a good down observation and it looks like he's going okay on time, another one to throw in the mix for a gold spoon. I think if we point back down the stream, Sam, James Dabill's on his way up.
Get that right, you'll take the rest. That double.
So if we can just focus on Dibs for a bit.
Here.
Mind your back, Sam, I think he's coming straight for you. That's it. Right in the thick of the action. So Dabill obviously last man away. Getting these lines again with Dan Hemo. A little bit behind Doug and Pricey and that, so it'd be interesting to see if he's had any early issues. He's going to watch probably Andy Chilton up the section first to get the line. Hope you can get that, Sam. So, once again, these top runners making sure there's no one in the section. There must be someone hung up at the ends cards. The last thing they want to do is go in, sacrifice stupid marks. I can still see the bike at the top, actually. Right, he's away. Andy Chilton. And then it'll be Dibs to follow. So far, so good. Great ride. So let's see what Dabill does.
I'll be alright on the way out. Keep right to centre.
Here we go.
Keep right to centre.
Lost none of that skill. Lovely again on the corner, fighting it all the way. Great ride. So, I'm thinking we need to move on. We need to catch them at the next spot. So join us again later, live. Thank you.